the Arthur story, it has a way of changing its meaning over time. The bones of it remain the same, but it becomes about different things. It becomes about kingship. It becomes about, originally, I think it was a kind of resistance anthem of the Welsh who were trying to keep the Saxons out. I think for T.H. White, it was probably about the specter of world war, since he wrote it in the mid 20th century. For Marion Zimmer Bradley, obviously, it was about feminism and neo-paganism. Every age gets the Arthur that it needs. It was not apparent to me that we had the Arthur that we needed yet. I felt as though King Arthur must surely have something to say to us, but he hadn't said it yet. And the question was how to tell that story in such a way that he says it. And I was very slow to arrive at that idea, but probably some of it, if I'm being honest, came from Game of Thrones. The engine of that
Oh,
story, or the
interesting.
thing that sort of kicks it off, is the death of the king, or perhaps two kings, but probably Robert Baratheon. The whole story is an extended succession crisis. I began to play with the idea of what would a story look like if the king who died wasn't Robert Baratheon, it was King Arthur. And when I did that, a whole lot of lights lit up. And I realized there was something very interesting there. It's a basic convention of the Arthurian story that the story ends with Arthur's death. When you read Thomas Malory, for example, The Mort d'Arthur, the label says what's in the tin. Arthur will die, and
It's
then
there.
the story, everyone will grieve because it's a great tragedy, and the story will end. I became very curious about what would happen if you left the cameras rolling, as it were. You know, what White's great stroke of genius, or one of them, was the idea of telling the story of Arthur's childhood. Nobody had ever done that before. All that stuff about Arthur being tutored by Merlin, White, he just made it up out of whole cloth. And he gave us Arthur as a young boy, which we'd never had before. He discovered this vast tract of land on the map that had never been explored. And the time after Arthur's death was similarly unexplored. There was very little writing about it. And I realized that you could do something very interesting there. And I realized also you could do something very, very modern there. Something about that story, about that world that Arthur leaves behind, where the center has not held, the pillar that held everything up has collapsed. And we're left in the darkness with this kind of broken kingdom, and the institutions and the stars that we used to steer by are gone. When I looked at that world, I recognized it. It felt like the world that we're living in now. And I thought maybe that's the Arthur that we need. That's the Arthur I've been looking for.